Get ready to tune in, turn back the dial, and rediscover the airwaves of yesteryear. This is Echoes from the Past, your backstage pass to the shows that changed everything.
Doo Wop, well, it's a genre that's as much about soul as it is about harmony, isn't it? And it all starts back in the late 1940s and early 50s, when these tight vocal groups stepped into the spotlight and redefined what music could feel like. You've got these rich, velvety harmonies and lyrics that were often, well, kind of sweet and simple, but also deeply, deeply resonant for their time. Now, one group you can't talk about doo-wop without mentioning is the Platters. They were, the epitome of smooth. With chart-topping hits like Only You and The Great Pretender, their sound practically wrote the blueprint for that vocal harmony. And then you had the Penguins, who, honestly, they had a humbler repertoire. But Earth Angel? That song blew everyone away. It's one of those tracks that just stays with you. Always. And speaking of staying with you, here's a little personal story. Growing up, my dad would almost religiously play his favorite doo-wop records during Sunday night family dinners. One track was always at the top of the rotation. In the Still of the Night by the Five Satins. I can still hear it, That slow, almost dreamy intro filling my grandparents' living room while we passed around plates of spaghetti. It wasn't just music for him. It was a memory machine, a connection to his youth, and honestly, a reminder of where we came from. And that's the beauty of this genre. Doo-wop wasn't just music, it was identity. It brought people, and even generations, together in a way few other styles could. But of course, we could talk about it all day. So, when you think of the golden age of Doo Wop and Oldies, certain songs instantly come to mind, right? Tracks like Shboom by the Chords or Come Go With Me by the Del Vikings, they've kind of become the soundtrack to, well, nostalgia itself. But what about those hidden gems? The ones that didn't top the charts, but, still carved out their space in music history. Take a track like Angel Baby by Rosie and the Originals. It's not a song that comes up in every oldies playlist, but oh man, it's got this raw, unpolished sweetness to it. You can almost feel the teenage emotion dripping from every note. And then there's Book of Love by the Monotones, which, while it did pretty well, is one of those tracks that just makes you wonder, what were they thinking when they wrote that playful hook? And speaking of teenagers, that's the thing that stands out about this era, how tied it was to youth culture. You had this explosion of teenage expression. Sock hops in gymnasiums, drive-ins blaring tunes, and these wild dance fads like the twist or the stroll. The music wasn't just in the background, it was driving the scene. Kids weren't just listeners, they were creating the culture right along with it. Even the slower ballads had their place. Picture a dimly lit dance floor, couples swaying to something like Sea of Love by Phil Phillips. It wasn't just a song, it was a moment. A rite of passage for so many teens stepping into their first taste of romance. Honestly, it's amazing how much of life was wrapped up in these melodies, And while we're talking about the gems, some of the stories behind these songs are just wild. Like how Stay by Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs, which is, barely over a minute and a half long? It's still one of the shortest singles to hit number one. Or how A Teenager in Love by Dion and the Belmonts somehow managed to capture every heartbreak you thought you'd never survive. It's like every track was a snapshot of a moment, vivid and unforgettable. There's something timeless about oldies, isn't there? These songs, they seem to have this magic, this ability to connect people across generations. And the craziest part is, they don't just remind us of our own stories. They become the backdrop for new ones. Think about it. Families still gather around these songs. Maybe it's a road trip where the car speakers are blasting a doo-wop playlist, and suddenly everyone's in on the harmonies. Or maybe it's like a quiet Sunday afternoon where parents introduce their kids to the Drifters or Frankie Lyman, and you see this spark. It's not just music, it's kind of a legacy, really. A way of passing down memories and emotions. There's a podcast out there, Those Oldies But Goodies, that does an incredible job of curating this history. They don't just play the songs, they tell the stories behind them. And in this digital age where everything's a swipe or a click away, it's amazing how platforms like that can breathe new life into classic tunes. They're making sure this history isn't just archived, it's alive, relevant, And when you hear about families bonding over this music, it's like such a reminder of its power. I read about one family. Every Saturday, they're on the road visiting grandparents or, heading to a game, and their tradition is all about doo-wop playlists. It's their thing. And over time, the kids start requesting the songs like Earth Angel or Under the Boardwalk. It's incredible how these tracks become, threads weaving generations together. But that's why this genre keeps thriving. Even in a world full of streaming and algorithms, it finds its place because it's more than sound. It's feeling. And that feeling? It's universal. So if you haven't already, maybe dig up some old tunes, share them with someone, or even just let them sweep you back for a moment. That's the gift oldies give. And on that note, we'll call it a day. Thanks for letting me share these stories with you. It's always an absolute pleasure talking about what makes these moments and this music so special. Until next time, take care, and don't forget to keep a little doo-wop in your heart.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the airwaves of the past. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the classic radio shows that shaped generations and left a lasting legacy. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Echoes from the Past. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to share it with fellow fans of history, storytelling, and vintage radio magic. Until next time, keep your dial set to the golden era and let the echoes of the past remind us of the timeless power of radio.